The wind howled like a hungry wolf across the empty platforms of Raven Station. It wasn't just a posting for me. It was a 7-day sentence in the middle of nowhere. My name is Arjun, and that night the fog was so thick it felt like the station itself was trying to suffocate me. A single lamp sputtered and fought against the darkness, its yellow light painting long, dancing shadows that played tricks on my eyes. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. This place was cursed. I just didn't know it yet. My first task was to get the station master's office in order. The door groaned open, revealing a room trapped in time. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight, piercing through grimy windows. Cobwebs hung like ancient tapestries from every corner. I tried to open the main desk drawer, but it was stuck fast. Putting all my weight into it, I gave it a final, forceful pull. It burst open with a sharp crack, scattering ancient papers across the floor. But one file remained, thick and bound with a faded red string. The words stamped on the front were stark: "Accident report, do not open. Curiosity is a dangerous thing." My hands trembled as I untied the string. Inside were documents yellowed with age and something far worse. Photographs. The images were horrifying: a train, twisted and mangled from a massive explosion. And then I saw the pictures of the station master, a man named Das. His body was burnt, barely recognizable. A wave of nausea hit me as I stared at the charred remains in the photo. A whisper, like dry leaves skittering across pavement, slithered into my ear. "Get out." I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs. The office was empty. But the door, which I had firmly shut, was now slowly creaking open. An unseen hand was inviting me out. My training told me to stay put, to rationalize, but a primal fear screamed at me to run. I didn't know what was happening, but the ghost of Station Master Das had just introduced himself, and he wasn't happy I'd opened his file. I stumbled out of the office, gasping for fresh air. But the fog on the platform was thicker than ever, a suffocating white blanket. My breath plumed in front of me, mingling with the mist. I had to get my bearings, to convince myself it was all in my head. But then I saw him. Through a momentary break in the fog, a figure stood at the far end of the platform. It was a man, or what was left of one. He wore a station master's uniform, but it was tattered and charred black, as if he'd walked straight out of a fire. My blood ran cold. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The figure began to glide towards me, not walking, but floating just above the grimy platform stones. It made no sound. As it got closer, I saw its face, or the lack of one. It was a blackened, melted mess, but where its eyes should have been, two embers glowed with a malevolent, hollow light. It was Das, the man from the photographs. He was here. He was real. The phantom raised a skeletal, burnt hand, pointing directly at me. I was frozen in pure terror, my mind screaming but my body refusing to obey. Just as he was about to reach me, he dissolved, vanishing back into the dense, swirling fog, as if he were made of smoke. I collapsed onto my knees, shaking uncontrollably. Was I losing my mind? I looked down at the spot where he had been standing. There, on the dusty platform, was a perfect circle of footprints, scorched into the stone. They weren't my prints. They were the prints of someone pacing, waiting for the next train, or maybe waiting for the next station master, waiting for me. The single lamp overhead flickered violently and then went out, plunging Raven Station and me into absolute darkness. My week of duty had just been. Arjun's first night shift at the old Raven Station was supposed to be easy money. The place had been abandoned for years, a steel skeleton gathering rust and whispers. But as midnight approached, the air grew thick and cold, heavy with a silence that felt watchful. He was doing his rounds on the main platform when a shape began to form in the swirling fog. A figure, charred and skeletal, in what was once a station master's uniform. Its eyes were hollow, but they burned with a cold blue light. It didn't walk. It glided, floating over the cracked concrete, getting closer and closer. Arjun's heart hammered against his ribs. This was real. This was happening. Panic seized him. He bolted, his footsteps echoing through the cavernous station. He fumbled for a door. Any door, and threw himself into the electrical room, slamming it shut behind him. His breath came in ragged gasps. For a moment, there was only the sound of his own pulse roaring in his ears. Then a click. A switch on the main control board flipped down. Then another flipped up. On, off, on, off, the relays chattering like a mad insect. The lights overhead began to strobe, casting jerky, dancing shadows across the room. Just as his eyes adjusted, a hand slammed down onto the control board. It was blackened, burnt to the bone. The strobing light revealed the full figure of the station master, its face a rictus of agony, before a final loud snap plunged the entire room into absolute darkness. Arjun screamed, but the sound was swallowed by a sudden, deafening roar. The world dissolved around him. He was no longer in the control room. He was standing on the platform decades in the past. It was the night of the accident. Sparks rained down from failing signals. Terrified passengers screamed from inside a derailed train carriage, its metal groaning and twisting in the fire. He saw the station master, a man named Das, trying desperately to help, his face streaked with soot and terror. Then an explosion ripped through the engine, engulfing everything in a blinding white flame. Through the fire and smoke, the ghostly burning form of Das turned to look directly at Arjun, its voice a rasp of ash and embers. "The station," it whispered, "needs a new keeper." He was back in the present, on the cold platform, the smell of smoke still clinging to him. A deep rumble started beneath his feet, the tracks vibrating with an impossible force. Out of the impenetrable fog, a train materialized. It wasn't real, it glowed with a faint, sickly light, its form shimmering and indistinct. The doors hissed open, and from the darkness within, shadowy figures reached out. The spectral victims of the crash, their faces frozen in silent screams. Their whispers slithered into his mind, a chorus of despair. Join us, spectral hands, cold as the grave, grabbed his arms, his legs, pulling him relentlessly toward the open doors. He fought, he screamed, but it was like struggling against the tide itself. He was dragged into the ghostly carriage, and as his last cry was cut short, the phantom train dissolved back into the night, leaving only the fog and an echoing silence. Morning came, and with it a new security officer sent to find out why Arjun had stopped responding. He found the station office unlocked. Inside, Arjun's uniform was neatly folded on the desk. Beside it lay his ID badge. An old leather-bound file was open, the official report on the Raven Station accident. But on the yellowed page, fresh handwriting in a neat, deliberate script added a final chilling entry. The station has chosen its new master. As the officer stared, confused, the camera slowly pans to the window. The bright morning light reflects the empty platform, but superimposed over it. Staring back from the glass is a ghostly reflection. It's Arjun, silent, his form charred and broken, his eyes now hollow pools of cold blue light, forever bound to Raven Station.